Today's episode of The Sash is brought to you by Swish, personalised videos from your favourite Essendon players. Now, in only a few weeks' time, Mother's Day is coming. Jesse, do you reckon Mummy Dearest would love a video from a handsome young Nate Caddy or maybe an Archie Perkins? Who's her man, do you reckon?
Oh, she loves a dread.
Yep.
Loves dreadlocks. I think Kako could be the man.
Ooh, yeah. What are you going to get him to say? Jesse's a good boy and he's very appreciative for all you do for me.
Maybe just him actually saying how much he loves my mum.
Yeah.
Pretending like he knows her. Like, I love you so much, mum.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're the mum that I never had. I wish I had a mum like you. You're the best. You make such a great shepherd's pie.
Yeah.
Wish I could be there on Mother's Day.
That's very funny. That's very funny. Well, listeners and viewers, you can get 10% off any video from Swish from all the amazing Essendon players who are on there. If you use the code TheSash at checkout, you get 10% off. So swish.com, you can find that. Let's start the show. Hello, faithful. Welcome to the opposition preview edition of The Sash, and I'm very happy to be joined on satellite by BackChat's own Dan Const. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Great to be here. I just love talking football, especially about the West Coast Eagles. There's nothing I enjoy more than just spending every day of my life thinking and talking about the absolute shambles that the West Coast Eagles are. It's just really great. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, mate. It's a pleasure. Some would say you're flying high. Is that right?
We're flying high. Oh, my gosh. You know what? Maybe we should have kept the song. Maybe we should have kept the Birds of Tokyo version because things have been worse since we've gotten rid of it.
What year did you change to the Birds of Tokyo version? When did that happen?
I think it was 18. I think it was 18 or 19. It was around about then. I can't remember exactly. Actually, it would have been 18 because Hamish Brayshaw remembers. Tells the story of being in the the rooms when they brought one of the guys in from Birds of Tokyo and showed them the new version. So Hamish was there in 17, 18, 19 in those areas. So I think it must have been around then. But yeah, look, I think if we hadn't started losing awfully, I think people wouldn't have looked to the song being so bad for so long. You know what they say, winning cures everything. So look, if we were winning heaps of games, I'm sure no one would have an issue with the song. Maybe it's time we bring it back. I think times were better when we had Birds of Tokyo version of the West Coast Eagles song.
Interesting. So I was going to ask you if we did the numbers of old song versus new song, is the loss percentage higher with the Birds of Tokyo version, or is the loss percentage higher with the traditional?
It would have to be Birds of Tokyo because of through the 90s and early thousands, the West Coast Eagles won a lot of football games.
Yes. Okay.
So with the old song is definitely better, and it definitely gives us has had a better history with us. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say, Rob. It's been the worst 5 weeks of my life as a football fan. I was looking at a stat today. Someone tweeted it, and I should probably give them credit. Hang on. Actually, I took the screenshot and I sent it to you. Perfect. This is exactly why I did this.
This is
do
why
you have
you did
it in front of you?
I do have it in front of me.
Because I can't see it now.
Give me one moment. So it's from Miguel Sanchez on Twitter. Real name. Twitter. Definitely a real name.
Yeah.
We might have just put together the worst 75-game stretch in the AFL era. West Coast Eagles last 75 games, 10 wins, 65 losses, percentage of 59.6.
That's so bad.
And then it compares a few other teams. So there's Melbourne between 2011 and 2014. They were 12 and 63. Fitzroy went 13 and 62 before they folded. The Giants 15 and 60 when they started, and Gold Coast first 75 was 21 and 54.
Do you remember how bad the Gold Coast Suns were in those first 5 seasons, right?
They were horrific. And you're
worse.
You're speaking to a fan base who witnessed a man by the name of Kyle Reimers kick 8 goals against the Gold Coast Suns. So if that doesn't tell you how shit they were in that stat alone, then I don't know what you need. So I guess the question for us is that if you are worse than the Gold Coast first 75 games, which Essendon plodder is going to kick 8 goals on Friday?
I think the last time we played you guys, Sam Durham just destroyed us. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's not really a plotter, right? He's actually good. But look, what's the bet that like Mackay goes forward and kicks 8 or something? Like, that's the sort of areas where we're in, because they could put anyone into the forward line probably, and they'd kick goals because our midfield can't stop a single ball. Like, we have no defense out of the midfield. So you'll get it inside 50, 250 times, and if Mackay's in there, I'm sure you'll snag a few.
What do you put that lack of defence down to? Is it a cattle problem? Is it a coaching problem? Is it a fitness problem? Is it all of the above? What do you think?
It's probably all of the above, and we just don't win any centre clearance. So it's like our ruck stocks haven't been great. We have Bailey Williams is athletic and he jumps really high, but he also he's not a real ruckman. So he's meant to be like a ruck forward, but then we haven't really had a proper ruckman, so he's been stuck in the ruck and been stuck in a rut as well. And we just don't have the bodies in the midfield that can actually get ball and get clearances. We're still young. Liam Baker is like becoming almost a permanent midfielder for the West Coast Eagles. I didn't see that happening, but he's been good. But look, outside of like when we had Elliot Yeo, he was obviously a great ball getter in the midfield. We haven't had him. Harley Reids hasn't been playing up to scratch. Like Liam Duggan's in the midfield as well. It's just a bit of a mishmash of blokes that I don't think are capable of winning enough centre clearances. So what happens is they're just, if you're getting peppered all day, getting it kicked into your 50, you're going to get high scores kicked against you, even if you've got a great defence, which, at times we have, even in the last few seasons with Barris and McGovern and Hoff, who's come along, even with a great defence. If your midfield is just not doing their jobs, if it's continually coming in there's nothing else you can do. You just cop it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Like, eventually the dam wall's going to break if there's just repeat entry after repeat entry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think for us, you mentioned the ruck stock, so we obviously had one of our ruckmen do an ACL over the weekend. Nick Bryan's out for the season, which means that we now turn to either Peter Wright, who's coming off an injury trouble break. I think he played VFL on the weekend, but there's a serious possibility that Essendon rips off the tinfoil and gets the old gold out, and old Goldstein might just head over to Optus Stadium and just wind the clock back to 2010, 2011 when he was a young man.
Yeah, look, if that's happening, right? Maybe this is the chance that West Coast have. If they're ruckman, if we're going up against that, then maybe we do win some centre clearances and actually get the ball forward, because we have a decent forward line. I mean, Oscar Allen's a bit out of form at the moment, but Jake Wardman's playing and now he's had a game under his belt. If we can win some ruck contests, if we can win some midfield clearance, I actually think maybe we might win now. I didn't realize you're so thin in the midfield as well. On the rucking, I just thought about this. So one thing that always hurts Bailey Williams is when he goes up against a good ruckman, and they do that. They do that thing more and more now where they don't run in and then jump and go for the tap. They like stand in the middle and like get the contact straight away. If that's, what do you think about? I hate that. I hate it because it's the one thing that Bailey Williams has.
Yeah, I do like the traditional two-men run and jump. They crash knees. I know it's not good for their body, and I'm sure the physios and doctors don't like them doing it. But I'm with you. I prefer that. You get those big lumbering ruckmen, your Witzes, your Briggs, who just want to stand there and get in the way. It'll be interesting to see what we do, because Sam Draper obviously shouldered the burden against Melbourne. He's had a really good start to the year. He looks really fit. He's also someone who likes to run and jump. Like, he isn't a ruckman who wants to get in the way and prevent that from happening. So I'd quite like to watch, from a spectacle point of view, Draper and Williams just jumping at each other and seeing what happens.
Chuck some shin pads on, boys, and just go at it.
Yeah, wind the clock back. Let's just, shin pads, both knees. Maybe, I don't think they allow you to put kneecaps on in the AFL.
They should.
They should, some skating caps, that'd be good. Then I guess the midfield's an interesting one for us. Obviously, Parrish hasn't played this year. Caldwell's an all out, but wasn't really a problem against Melbourne. They are, incredibly slow.
Yep.
Is that a similar trait that you guys have? Do you struggle to spread? Do you struggle to break away from contests?
Oh, yeah. We're so slow. We are so slow. We are just like watching the game from Adelaide from the hill last week. When you're on the hill, you really you're looking down the field. So, when you're not on the side, so you can't really see much movement. But when you're seeing them like down the barrel, basically of the field, you just see our midfield just like wavering around and just like at times I just saw them walking. We're just we are. It's one of our biggest things. We're not fit and we're not fast either. So, look, if we're anything like Melbourne, then you'll go to town on us as well. But what's your midfield like? Do you have much speed in there? What are you doing to teams at the moment?
Yeah, like a little bit. We've got a bit of a different mix now because obviously Dylan Shields playing there again at the moment. He has good burst speed, but I think as he's getting on with age that, his first half against Melbourne was unreal. His first quarter in particular, but second half of the game really disappeared. Will Setterfield's in there. He's pretty slow, but then the other guys who roll through there do have that speed. So Merritt's got burst of speed. Durham's got burst of speed. Hobbs probably is in that middle sort of range. But look, if Durham and Merritt can spread, even maybe a Nick Martin as well, I think that's where we can get you. And the two wins that we've had this season, it's been the last quarter that's just we've put the foot down and just run away with the game. So if West Coast are struggling late, I do think that if it's tight in the third, we could probably run away with it.
I remember I mentioned Sam Durham already just destroying us. I think he had about 37 broken tackles last time we played. Like couldn't lay a tackle on him. And that's always been an issue for the West Coast Eagles. Just for some reason, we can't tackle anything. So look, if he does that again, it's just So last week I thought we were going to beat Carlton. I thought there was a chance. It was the one sniff that we're going to get to actually get a win, because the first 4 games we had Gold Coast, Fremantle, which we're probably going to lose against. We had GWS and who am I forgetting? One other team that will definitely we're going to start the season 0-4 because they're all better teams than us. Whereas now Carlton, I was like, this is our chance. For some reason, after even getting belted by a 70 against Carlton, I look at this game Friday night, being at Optus, being against Essendon, and I think we've played okay against you guys in the past.
Yeah, you have.
I think I'm feeling a little bit confident.
Like, yeah, I can see that.
Marvel, I'd be like, no, you guys have got it. But I've just, for some reason, Perth, and the fact that we got belted last week, we're embarrassed. And there's a chance Jeremy McGovern comes back this week, albeit probably a week too early. Maybe Luca Grego gets a call up after playing well on the waffle. And we've been calling for Luca Grego to get into this squad for a very long time. Who knows what's going to happen? How do you guys go over here usually in Perth when you play Fremantle on the West Coast?
Not great, I would say. Like in the years that you have been when you've been strong teams, we don't usually win over there, but we have had a few wins. I know we've had some pretty close games against you guys over there, but it's funny. Like I feel like it happened last season where you guys had come off a series of bad losses. The pressure was on. It was all it was. All media attention was on the Eagles, and what happens? Well, you're playing Essendon. Now, it was a close game. Obviously, it's a bit different being over in Perth, but it's all been about Melbourne this week in Victoria. It's all D's. What's going on at the D's? Obviously, it's very different for you guys, but I guess it's hard to know, is there going to be that extra pressure that there was this time last year? Because Simo was still coaching this time last year, was he not?
He was.
Yeah, so Simo, I think he would have still been in the job.
So was in like maybe one of the early ones, one of the early games of Schofield late in the season.
Because it was round 8.
We played you guys. Yeah. And that was when I think we lose Harley. I don't think Harley played that game. I think that may have been, he may have copped a suspension or they rested him.
I think he was rested. I'm looking. Oh no, he played. He had 14 touches. So there you go. So maybe he got injured or something. But
yeah. So yeah, it would have been Simo. And then I remember the season before. It was. I think you guys we were winning by a goal with about 50 seconds left. You guys kicked 2 goals.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was like a directive of like you got to lose this game because we want Harley Reid. So look, I need it to be close. I'm going to the game. It's a Friday night here, so it's an ordeal getting to the game, taking my son. I just want this one to be competitive for us. If we lose, we lose. You guys are obviously a better team, but I can't cop another 70-point loss. Like, it's going to be deflating. Like, Brady Hoff last week was crying in the locker room when he got interviewed, just about how brutal it is. Because he's just like, it was an emotional time, and obviously he's copped it from. He's been in the club since, like, we haven't been great ever since he's been here, and he's a very good player. Very, he was a West Coast fan growing up, so I think they've had enough, the players, but unfortunately, they're not doing enough on the field. They can have all the frustrations afterwards, but you want to friggin' win it on the day. Otherwise, you're just going to cop it again.
That's fair. Yeah, you mentioned the draft pick there, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword for Essendon this week, because we could lose to you, and then we now have the number one pick in the draft thanks to Melbourne. So if Essendon want to play a bit of 4D chess here, then there's a chance to just get that extra spot up the ladder. And obviously, it's very early in the season. But
how many games? We're in 5 games in, and you're already thinking about draft picks. Is this the life of an Essendon fan?
No, yes, but also when you're holding a team who hasn't won a game's draft pick, it makes it a little bit more interesting. Going, gee,
that's true. Yeah, you want that edge on Melbourne.
Yeah, because it's like last week was a double win. We win, and our draft pick gets better. Like it works out really well. And look, they don't look very, very good. I want to ask you about a couple of players. You mentioned a guy there before who's playing waffle, and I would garner that the majority of our listeners and viewers who are tuning into this would never have heard of. Is it Grego? Grego, did you say?
Luca Grego.
Okay, so what's his story? Tell us about him.
So drafted this year, like not a high draft pick, but he comes from a bit of a rugby background. He, in photos and like team photos and stuff that he's been in early, no smiles, just looks like a dour operator. He's wearing the number 31, which of course is a big deal for us over here, being Will Schofield's number. He was just a good dour looking guy that came into training, and then one day rocked up with like a Maori tribal tattoo all across his shoulder and down his arm. And then, like,
is he Maori?
I think it's in his family.
Okay.
So, but he wouldn't look it. That's why it looks sort of out of place, because he just looks like, remember Shannon Hearn, right? So Shannon Hearn came in and he looked like 35 from the day he got to the club. It's got a bit of that to it with Luca Grego. Okay. So he comes from a bit of a rugby background. So hopefully he just wants to get in there and belt some guys, I reckon. Not illegally, not punch-ups or anything like that, but I think he just wants to get in there, win the ball, win some games of football, and if he gets some big tackles while he's doing it, then he'll be stoked. So that's Luca Grego. I think he had the most possessions for the West Coast Waffle team last week, and that was when Tim Kelly was playing in the team as well. He's trying to get into the spot, and we're at the point now where you got to play these guys. You can't be holding them out just to maybe check if they're ready. Like we're getting belted by 70 points by the team who's 17th or 16th on the ladder. Like, what's the point in holding out these guys now? Just get him in there, get games into him. So that's Luca Grego. Very excited to see what he does.
So midfielder, and is he mature age or is he an 18?
No, he's not mature age. He's I think. Probably is his draft year, and he's been playing midfield in the Waffle. But I think he was meant to be I think he's a bit of a backman. But who knows? Look, it's when you're playing. If you're just the best football player on your team, whether it's your junior footy or whatever, usually just get chucked into the midfield. But look, we saw with like Ruben Jinby, they threw him into the midfield for a while. He's a real backman, and he's playing really well in the back line now. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Grego, but he did play in the midfield during the Waffle.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just looking him up now for listeners. Picture the Shermanator from American Pie with tribal tats. So that's what we're dealing with here. So this is good areas. I like the sound
Look out for him.
Yeah, I like the sound of this guy. What's going on with Tim Kelly? Because he's such an interesting story, because he was the best footballer in the comp at one point, and then you guys sold the farm for him. He came over, and I would assume that he's been a disappointment. Is that a fair statement?
Not at all.
Okay.
I think that's the narrative outside of like the club, is that and for fans, probably for some fans as well, because there's this notion that we gave up so much for Tim Kelly. We got him trying to win another premiership. We threw everything, and I reckon there's been plenty of people that have like sort of tracked where these draft picks have ended up and who the players are, and it actually isn't bad. Like the West Coast, although they gave up the opportunity to draft some more talent, and they sort of hinged some things on Tim Kelly. He won the club best and fairest, I think, 2 seasons ago. He's been probably one of our most consistent players over the last few years. So look, I think in hindsight, would have you liked the chance to draft 3 good young guys with the draft picks? Maybe, but he's been really, really good for the West Coast Eagles, and he's probably hasn't lived up to the same expectations of what they thought he was going to be when he was at Geelong. And obviously the team starts losing games when he's in it. So I think there's this narrative that Tim Kelly, they ruined their future trying to get Tim Kelly, but he's been a really, really good, consistent player. He's often in our top 5 in this last season. This last 5 weeks of the season. Obviously, he got dropped for last game, but he hasn't had a great start to 2025. And there's some talk around him whether or not he was still. He sort of said it himself that he needed to fall back in love with the game a bit, and so I think he was struggling with some stuff. But no, I rate Tim Kelly, and I think he cops it a lot because of what the West Coast Eagles gave up to get him. Yeah. But, you never know what the West Coast Eagles would have actually got with those picks and whether it would have been good or not. But it's just because they thought, maybe we got 3 really, really good young players that have played 50 or 60 games by now. Instead, we got one Tim Kelly, and he hasn't lived up to the hype. I think he's been really good for them. And, I don't know. I think he cops it a bit too much just because they're not winning games.
No, that's fair. I understand that. There's something that's very common with struggling clubs is the amount of captain hindsight that goes on about draft picks and selections and people getting traded for this. Like we've had all that chat obviously with Dylan Shield, with Devon Smith, with lots of different other guys. It's like, oh, we could have had him, we could have had him. Even guys we've drafted, it's like, oh, we took Aaron Francis at 6, we could have had Curnow at 9. It's like, well, great. we didn't. It fucked up. Like it sucks, but that's what that's what happens. Like that's the nature of the draft. Is that sometimes you land an absolute gem further up, and the kid who had the hype doesn't turn out to be what he turns out to be. So no, we've had Essendon supporters understand this.
Yeah, great. Well, we've had similar with Liam Baker because obviously we traded away the number 3 pick in this year's draft to get Liam Baker over the club, and people thought that was selling overs, but he's been although we've been getting belted every game, he's so good, and is exactly what the West Coast Eagles need in terms of a veteran sort of player, someone who tries their bloody ass off just to do whatever he can while he's on the field. So it's always a hindsight thing. Look, you could look at Carlton's number 3 pick, did his ACL, out for the season. So it's just there's so many variables that happen that end up changing what hindsight could have been. So that's the same with Tim Kelly, same with Liam Baker, and even just the fact that we could have split a pick and got Sheasel or something instead of getting room. I don't know. You can't just keep going back. Otherwise, everything always looks bad in hindsight. When, sometimes you get a Josh Kennedy when you trade Chris Judd away. You just never know.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. You never know. Sometimes it works in your favour and sometimes it doesn't. It's just, I guess it's always very easy for people that when things aren't going good, you just go, oh, well, why'd they do this versus this? That's the sort of question.
Yeah, Nick Martin was at the West Coast Eagles training facility. They could have just taken him in a heartbeat, and they didn't, and now you guys get him. So, yeah, I don't like talking about hindsight because it just makes you frustrated and things something you can't change.
Yeah, I find for me, the one I feel like you can criticise on is going, oh, this is the type of player. It's like, oh, why did we draft a mid instead of this when I felt like we needed that more? I think that's a conversation, but it's just like, oh, why did we? It's like, oh, why did it's like Melbourne drafted Clayton Oliver before we picked Darcy Parish at the next pick, and people were like, oh, we could have had Clayton Oliver. It's like, well, Clayton Oliver's better, and they picked him. That's just shit happens, So anyway, we could have this conversation. I feel like for hours. Can I ask you what was your preseason expectation? Because I had you guys bottom 4, but I probably would have expected you to have a win on the board by now. I think I do feel like you guys have such a great home ground advantage. That is the beauty of being a non-Victorian team, is that you have a proper home base and you can take advantage of that. Look, there's long to go in the season, but where was your pre-season prediction?
I look, in my mind, I thought if they got to 5 or 6 wins, that would be great. In my heart, I was hoping for 7. And we belted Richmond in the preseason game, and it's preseason, doesn't really count. And Richmond basically played an under-18s team. But I just thought, look, maybe this shows that we can beat bad teams, and that's what I was basically banking on throughout the season. You'd probably beat Richmond, hopefully a couple of times, beat North Melbourne. You might get like a 14th place St Kilda on a good day, and you beat them. Maybe you win like a random game against the finals team later in the season. So I was thinking like that would be ideal, and I think that would show a little bit of progress and show that. And it was more just the players looking better. I think like the wins don't mean much when if you're going to be 15th to 17th. Like, what's the difference between winning 4 games and 6 games? Like, the wins don't really matter too much. But you want to see progress with players that are performing at a better level, and you want closer games as well. Because the season before, I think we had 5. I think we had 5 losses over 100 points.
Yeah, wow.
And so then last season we didn't have any. And so I thought this time around, like, if we're going to come up against a good, I don't know, like Sydney or something like that, maybe a win for us is losing by 20 or 30 points. And that would be like, okay, yeah, there's progress. So it wasn't more so about the wins for us, but just closer games. But look, Gold Coast belted us, Carlton belted us, GWS just did whatever they wanted. Freo was like not close, but it wasn't horrible. So yeah, preseason, I just thought close games with some wins against bad teams and maybe a couple of wins against fringe teams. But I am now trying to figure out where our first win comes from, because maybe I think it's got to be Melbourne, right? It's got to be Melbourne or Richmond. In the next 3 or 4 games, I think we've got both teams. If we go 0-4 over the next 4, it might be round 18 when a team who isn't making finals or is already locked in a final spot just packs it in for a week and goes as West Coast. We'll send over a B team and maybe we get a win against those guys. But I don't know. My expectations, I again weren't high. I wasn't like pushing for finals, but I just thought really like being more competitive. Second year Harley Reid, I thought would be better. And yeah, interested to see what would happen with our backline, with Barris going out. I think Harry Edwards has done an okay job. He's still learning and getting their best. He's still getting the best full forward every week, especially when Gov's out. So yeah, what I expected, progress, not a heap of wins, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty hard, I can imagine. Are those Melbourne-Richmond games, are they both at home, or are they here in Melbourne?
I think we've got, I actually think, let me just check here. We've got Richmond, I know, at home.
Surely win that.
At some point. So after you guys on Friday, we've got Hawks in Melbourne. Currently paying $1.03, the Hawks, so that's great. And then the following week is when we have Melbourne in Perth. That's round 8. We've got to win that game, and then the following week is Richmond at the MCG.
I'll tell you, on behalf of the entire Essendon community, we're all cheering you on to beat Melbourne.
Okay, sure, we'll do it.
We're all on you.
Easy.
We're all on you to win that, and then you guys can move up to 17th, and they'll finish 18th.
Yeah, we'll make sure of that.
We're all on that. We're all on that. How do you feel about Andrew McWalter? It's obviously a tough job coming into a club that is at the absolute bottom, and he's a new coach. Albeit for a few caretaker games along the way. How do you think he's going so far?
I think he's been stitched up a little in the fact that the list is no good. So there's that. But also he came in very late. Do you remember like late last season? Everyone was pulling out of the coaching running.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
For ages, they kept, like, Dean Cox was like, I'm not coaching them. And they're like, oh, maybe he will. I don't know. Like, people kept asking, is Dean Cox going to be the next coach of West Coast Eagles?
You got linked with Guy McKenna. And I texted Will and I said, just letting you know that Guy McKenna works at the local rec centre where I am. He looks like he's pretty happy here. I don't think he's coming to Perth.
So that's the thing. Like it's not like he was announced as coach, in November. Oh no, it would have been like, it's not like a season finished and they go, oh, Andrew McCall's going to be the next coach. It was ages. So I think he came in last minute, and that doesn't help when you're trying to build a program from scratch, basically with a very young list and not a very talented list, albeit. So, look, he's got a free hit. He could go 0-23 this year, and no one would care. Like, they're not going to be calling for his head. You can't. Like, because the list is no good. It's his first proper season as a head coach. But I've from people that know him, like Hamish Brayshaw on the BackChat pod, his brother, obviously Angus, played under McQualter and said he was elite. Like, he's a really, really good coach, really great person.
Right.
So I think in time he will be a good coach. But you need to have the personnel, and I think that's going to be a struggle for him because, really seasoned good coaches can probably get more out of a lesser quality list. But especially when you're fresh, like, I think you sort of just got to hope he grows with the squad a bit, and in a couple of years he's got the runs on the board with the boys and can actually put together something really good. So I've never really met him. When he did the season launch speech, apparently I didn't watch it, but people were saying like they'd run through a brick wall after hearing it, like it was elite and stuff like that. So I think he's got ways to go, but look, if they lose every game, I wouldn't put it completely down to him.
Yes, no, that makes sense. No, I can understand that. Yeah, I didn't actually think about how late in the piece he came on. Before I ask you just some more general questions about the game this week, I do want to ask you about Harley Reids. So it's obviously plenty of rumours over here about clubs interested in him. We are one of those clubs. We've got a pretty strong draft hand. We've got a lot of cash.
This scarf off, by the way. It's really hot. And
too hot.
Yeah. They're not good enough for me to wear it through the heat.
It's 29 degrees here in Melbourne, and this studio has terrible aircon, as you know, so I'm also pretty sweaty. Harley Reids, so plenty of interest from us. I think I wouldn't say every Essendon fan would like him to come. There's definitely some people who are very fearful of us spending draft picks again, which I think we've done in the past.
Yes.
One, do you think he'll stay? And two, if he does go, what would you want in return?
Okay, so do I think he will stay? I think it's like the optimist in me thinks he'll stay because they've apparently tabled a very high-paying contract to him. He gets to be the king of Perth, basically. And there's been, we've seen it with like Ben Cousins and Nick Naitanui in the past where these really high-profile guys over here in WA can basically... They have every opportunity they could ever want. And I'm sure he'll get similar opportunities in Melbourne, but I don't know. Do I think he'll stay? It's honestly 50-50. I really can't pick it. My gut's like probably no, but it makes sense. I just hope that he would... what I would really like from him if he was to sign a 3-year deal and the West Coast Eagles basically say to him, look, in 3 years' time, if you are not wanting to be here anymore, if we can't prove to you that we're worthwhile being around long term, then go. Like we won't hold you to that. We will help you get to wherever you want to go. But give us 3 years, and like get paid really well, have every opportunity you could ever want here in WA. And in 3 years' time, he's going to be, look, he could even do it with 5 years. In 5 years' time, he's going to be 24, 25. He will be in his absolute prime and will have 18 offers given to him at ridiculous money. Yep. So I think that's why in my head probably lean towards the staying because he's still got so much time and opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And the West Coast Eagles have proven they can be good. So it's not like we're Essendon or St Kilda or something where it's like, come on, your history shows that you're not going to be any good. So I would say there's a 51% chance actually that he stays. So that's what I think. And if he does leave, what would I want from him? You have to absolutely rinse a club. I think the last couple of seasons, the West Coast Eagles have proven that they can't do that. You need to play hardball and you need to get every possible pick you could possibly get for Harley. You can't be doing like little, handshake deals with clubs just to help him out or whatever. Excuse me. You need to go and put him up. If he wants to leave, you put him up and you take whatever the best deal possible. I'm sick of like
2 top 10s. Would you take 2 top 10s?
You need 3. Give me 3.
You want 3.
Give me 2 top 10s and maybe like another year's first rounder or something. But you have to. You can't. We went through the desert to get Harley. We lost so many games, and we got this guy who was Michael Jordan and Tom Brady had a baby, and they called it Harley Reid. That's the guy that we eventually got from all the losing. For us to then go away and go, give us a couple of first round draft picks, No, we've worked too hard to be shit for that long to then give him away for nothing. You got to go to every single club and say, give us your best offer and make the deal.
Yeah, you don't want to get bent over like North Melbourne certainly did with Horn Francis. So
exactly. Even like there's the talk around like Tom Barras and the picks that we got from that, and what potentially could happen from Oscar Allen if that does eventuate. You got to play hardball and you got to get picks. So that's my request. As long as they don't seem to be taken advantage of and get Harley taken from them, I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Just casting our eye back to Friday's game. The Bombers, what have you seen of us this year? How do you feel we're going? What are your concerns playing us this week?
So I watched you guys play Melbourne at Adelaide Oval on the hill last week at Gather Round. I tried not to watch too much of the game because it was really bad. It was a really, really bad game to watch.
Yep.
And that was fresh off watching Carlton West Coast about 4 hours previous. So I'd sort of had enough of watching bad footy. I think it was on the Thursday night. We went to the who played Thursday night?
Crows,
Adelaide Crows.
Sorry,
elite game. One of the better games I've seen. High scoring, really good footy, and then we got treated to West Coast Carlton and Melbourne and Essendon. So I don't think I've watched a heap of Essendon other than that, and just like random times when I've turned on the KO and they've been playing. But I know that I'm not scared of Essendon. I'll put it that way. I just don't think you guys are scary. There's obviously you got some good players. That you beat us in probably every line, midfield, defense, and forwards. But I don't know. I sort of go off the vibe of Essendon fans and sort of what I read on Twitter and stuff. And I guess you guys are always a little bit pessimistic. So I'm hopeful in that regard that it seems like you guys don't even like your team.
Yeah, no, I think most fans. Most of us would agree with that. Like, that's the thing. My preseason prediction was that, we're probably in that 9 to 12th range, ideally. But again, that could very easily be further down the ladder if things don't go right. And it's very hard. We're one of those teams that until you prove it, until you start beating good sides regularly, people aren't going to get on you. We obviously had a great first half of the season last season, but it fell off so rapidly in the back end.
Second with 5 games to go or something.
Yeah. Round 17, Essendon, Carlton, Collingwood were in the top 4, and only one of those 3 got there, and they just scraped in, which was Carlton. So
this season you beat Port when they were really shit.
Yeah, we beat Port in a crap game, and we beat Melbourne, who are crap, which I think is honestly kind of where we're at. Like, Adelaide embarrassed us, and that was a really, really poor game, and I think that's the fear for us, is that those sort of performances happen again, because like what you were saying, like, you can lose games as a bad team and come away with it going, well, we weren't embarrassed, we're just not very good, but that was an embarrassing game.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hawthorn game, we had a slow start in the first quarter because, it sounds like an excuse, but the fact that we were meant to play Gold Coast, it got cancelled. Hawthorn played a game. They came in red hot that first quarter, and then I think it was a 1-point margin for the other 3 quarters. We just couldn't bring him back. So I was like, okay, that's sucks, but it's not great. So we've had 2 good games, 1 average game, and 1 shocking game. So at the moment, we're trending in a good direction. But like you said, we need to prove. We need more players to go to that next level. We need more consistency out of players, and you just got to prove it. You just got to prove that you're good. And this is the thing. If we beat you guys this weekend, I'm going to have this exact same conversation a week from now with someone from Collingwood going, well, we've beaten 3 average sides. Now we play a good team. So that's just the nature of where Essendon's at. We've got to prove we're good.
But Collingwood Essendon's always a close one, isn't it? Isn't that like, it's a bit like Freo West Coast. Even when one team's bad, it usually is like
most of the time. In fact, they've flogged us a couple of times in some of our bad years, but most of the time, it's
you
a pretty.
drew last year, right?
Last year was a draw. We should have won last year. Last year we absolutely should have won. We were the disappointed ones of the draw, whereas I know from speaking to Collingwood fan, they had a bit of relief that they didn't lose. Yeah. Whereas we were the ones like, we fucked up. We should have won that game. So that's just sort of the nature of where Essendon has been, where you get a lot of ball, you get a lot of inside 50s, a lot of opportunities, and you don't convert. What's been good this season is I think we've been a bit better with lowering our eyes, finding targets. And if your midfield's as lazy as you said earlier on this show, that's going to work in our favour. It means, your caddies, maybe a Peter Wright, whoever else is playing in the forward line over the weekend is going to find a bit more ball, as opposed to just the old, let's just launch it as high as we can to Peter Wright and hope that he marks it, which is what we used to do.
What's going to happen with if you guys have another bad season? Is this it for Brad Scott? Is he done?
No, I think the club backs him. They obviously re-sign him for an extra year, and me reading between the lines, like I haven't spoken to anyone. This is just my pure, just outside view. Is that the club themselves went, okay, the list is clearly not that good. It's been left in a pretty bad state by the previous regimes.
Yes. And
he needs more time to fix it, because his year one, like he basically came and went, I'm here to we're going to play games. I'm going to understand the side. And as the season went on, you could realize that he was going, okay, a lot of these guys' standards are way worse than I thought. There's a lot of players who are way worse than I thought, just talent-wise. And now we're just building. So he's safe. They re-sign him for an extra year. But if we're sitting here year 4 of Brad with no finals, and we're 5-6 rounds in and we're 0-4 or 1-5 or something, then I can be certain that the Essendon faithful will feel a bit different.
Yeah, it's you guys are relentless over there, ruthless with your fandom, and I like it when you guys. I like fan bases that are like that that really love their club and they go after. It's not nice sometimes if they're like calling for coaches to be sacked and stuff like that, but they bloody care.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the one thing that you can give Essendon supporters, is that rain, hail or shine, they show up, they love their team, and they put in.
They do.
There's some absolute fair weather supporter bases in this city. I'm happy to say Hawthorn are one of them. When they're shit, they don't rock up, and when they're good, they do. But Essendon draw crowds regardless of how crap we are. So that's the one thing that the Dons faithful will certainly do well. Dan, it's a bit of a tradition on this show that we wrap up with a bit of a prediction. So can I get your result, the best player, and who's going to kick the most goals, please?
Snake Waterman's going to kick 4 goals and West Coast will win by 20 points. Best on will be Liam Baker.
Liam Baker. I like that. He's a good player, Liam Baker. Look, I think Essendon are going to win their 3rd game in a row, and I'm going to say it's going to be Dons by 31. I think we'll run away in the last quarter like we have been. I'm going to go Zach Merritt, best on ground, because he does it every single week. And do you guys tag? Do you have a tagger?
What's that?
Exactly. So there you go. Lock Zach Merritt in. And if McGovern's underdone or not playing, I reckon Nate Caddy might pop up for 3 goals.
What happens if I'm closer or you're closer? Do you buy me something? Do I get a prize, or is it just bragging rights?
Bragging rights. I mean, okay. I'll buy you a beer next time I see you. If you're right.
Great. Well, look, that will be hopefully in the next couple of months. I think. Look, coming off the back of Adelaide, I think I'm going to need 3 or 4 weeks to recover. But
fair.
I'm sure we'll be back in Melbourne soon, and then you can buy me a beer after we win this Friday. What day does this come out?
This will be out tonight. So we're recording this Tuesday afternoon, and after I go home and do dinner and bed and bath routine with the little man, I'll do a quick little edit and put it up. So this will be up Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So it'll be nice and fresh. For the listeners who aren't across the content you put out, Dan, do you want to give it a quick plug before we wrap up?
Yeah, so the BackChat podcast, we go live on YouTube's.
YouTube's, yep.
73 years old. We go live on YouTube on Mondays at 4:30. as well as Fridays at 4:30. We have a bunch of different shows, footy related, and also we have a new golf podcast that just comes out. So if you're into your golf, we have a very good pod over here that's just coming out, especially the Masters just wrapping up. I don't know a single thing about golf, so
I watched the end of it because I heard on the radio it was on.
It was awesome.
I put it on. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm watching here, but it was very exciting. Yeah.
So if you're into your golf, Ron Chopper is a big YouTube guy in the golf world. So he's on the pod alongside Hamish Brayshaw. So we do that. Just head to backchatstudios.com.au. You'll see all that stuff there. I'm on Twitter. I think Dan_Const. But apart from that, look, just the Backchat network of pods that we've got going on. Find all our stuff there.
And you said 4:30 for the lives. Is that WA or local?
That's Western time. So
6:30. So it'll be 6:30 over here now that daylight savings has ended.
Yeah, but also it goes up. It goes up. Once it goes live, it goes and lives up on YouTube, and you can find it on, your Spotify and Apple and all of that. But if you want to get involved on the chat and stuff like that, we do a live show every Monday at 4:30, which is birth time.
And if the faithful haven't watched it, I'm sure most of our listeners and viewers have. But the boys did a really good chat with Nick Martin when they were last over here in Melbourne, which they can also find.
That was like last week.
Yep, that went out. So and it's definitely been doing the rounds in the Don's social media community. But if people haven't checked that one out, they definitely should. You can hear me in the background a couple of times chiming in with a couple of notes.
Yeah,
but
you
it
were
was
drooling
good.
And stuff. I had to keep telling you to keep your mouth closed. So.
Yeah, exactly. You had to keep me 10 feet away from him. Dan, you've been very generous with your time. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Have a great afternoon and evening, and we'll speak soon.
See you, mate.